Okay, that's what you need a code for, so you don't go off, so that the conflict works to your advantage, which is something I want to mention here. Some people picked up some of the copies here. Here's the Constitution of the United States. Is this something that you use? Is this something that you throw in the trash, or is it something that you use? It's something you use. It's nothing but words. The Fifth Amendment and the 14th. Those are the two that you use most on your job and any place else, because those rules and regulations, circulars, policies. See, I had to ask somebody on the job once. I said, is this a law? He said, well, it's a regulation. I said, is this a law? Well, for all practical purposes, it's a law. I said, why don't you call it a law? See how they trick you? Watch those terms. Circulars. If you work, in what you call, quote, unquote, the federal government, they send around stacks of paper, correct? Say, this is circular number 518. All right? This is policy number 134. This is regulation number 222. Policies, regulations, circulars, rules. People write these things sometimes sitting at the lunch, I think. All right? But they govern everything about you. So what you can do, you can start using this, the Fifth and 14th Amendments out of the Constitution. You don't need the whole thing. This is the whole Constitution. It's small. But just the Fifth and 14th Amendments. The Fifth does what? Due process. That's when they get ready to fire you. And they did fire you, because you couldn't keep them from it. But you've been out of there 6 weeks. But the thing about it, under the Constitution, Fifth Amendment, you can get a Johnny Cochran or somebody to walk in and say, they fired you, but they didn't go about doing it right. That's what due process means. Yeah, they fired you. They could do that, but they didn't go about doing it. Now, the reason it can help protect you is because if they start messing with the way this is written, it's going to mess up a whole bunch of white people. So you got a certain amount of cover there. The other amendment is the 14th. That is equal protection of the laws. Thurgood Marshall used the 5th and the 14th all the time. He just went in slapping people with it. See, he didn't write it, but he just used it back and forth to his dying day. And you can use it right there on the job rather than them rules and regulations, I'm telling you. Because those rules and regulations are written by the fellow who's getting rid of you. And he wrote one this morning, just for you, okay, in the so-called agency. But if you put the Constitution out there now in what you call a private concern, which they're privatizing everything, that's a little harder. Okay. Who got a question? The mic is somewhere? Is the mic somewhere?
Yes, I just wanted to let some of the people know here that a lot of the things that Mr. Fuller is saying, that they actually work, and that you have to take your time and work with it and listen to the words and experiment with it. And a lot of people, we've gone to seminars where we meet with white people, we try it out at work. And just a couple quick examples. I wasn't really fired, but I was charged with something and stripped of all of my duties. Okay, stripped of all of my duties. And in talking with Mr. Fuller, he was like, hold on, you walk through the process. And I immediately went in and I said that, because this action had taken place, that I was going to conduct an investigation, and that I suspected that there was subversion in the agency. And I actually pulled out the copy of the Constitution, like he's showing, and you go through it, and it's due process. And, they step back and they look, and you just go right to the person who's in charge, who at that time was the superior advisor, supervisor. And I told him that I was going to conduct an investigation, and I would pass out all the information found from my investigation, and that I would hope that he would use this information with all the other information that was around to find out if there was a law broken and whether or not it was myself who had broken the law. And I told him that it was quite possible that it was me who broke the law, but we were going to find out. As we walk through it, and it comes from dealing with white people a lot, it's words. It's all words. It's all words. And as we walked through it, it was shown that there was another person who was involved that was not giving me particular, and as the other brother had said, correct information. I wasn't getting correct information, and it was very clear. I didn't get upset when they told me. They just knew I was going to freak out. I said, well, as we hold the investigation, all this will come out. And as it went through, the person who didn't give me the correct information, I didn't charge him with doing anything to me. I charged him with doing things to the United States government.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
that's the way it's done.
This is critical, because what happens is,
it's
just
critical.
as he said, then they can't come at you. The Constitution, NASA, the White House, everything is on my side now, because I made a charge that someone's not doing something against the U.S. government.
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened is they blew up at me, and the person actually formed their mouth to call me a nigger. I mean, it was amazing to see this person go off.
Oh yeah.
The supervisor stepped in, and said, hold it, we can calm down here, everything's all right. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'm calm, I said, I'm calm. It's a long story, but as we step through it, then the supervisor takes on the, quote, judge role, okay? And I asked him, I said that if it's true that someone hasn't given the correct information and did it willfully, that's a charge of subversion, and we need to go to the Inspector General. If we don't go to the Inspector General, then all of us are part of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, all I need to know now is whether or not this is the type of charge that needs to go to the Inspector General or not. Okay? And you'll see what's happening, because now the judge shifts to you. And you're backing the laws of the agency. And if you read through the Constitution, except for about 3 points when they actually mention black people, it's a document for organization. It's a good document for organization, except when they try to count people based on color. As we walked through, it was over. He sent the one guy out. The guy came back in, and they decided in front of me. I mean, this was amazing. I never thought this would happen in my life. That they discussed in front of me how they were going to blame it on a third white person who was not in the room. The amazing part about it, and I have to admit that we ran experiments with the code, and we had been listening to Dr. Wilson and Mr. Fuller for years, and we had practiced the techniques. And you have to stay real calm, because they try to say things about you personally to get you off track.
Yeah.
They went all around the world. They said, well, you knew already, and you purposely didn't do anything. I said, well, if I knew, why did you have to come call me here to tell me what I did wrong? If everyone knew what I did wrong, why didn't you just correct it? Do you see what I'm saying? Because we're all here to do a certain job. Right. Why is it all this thing about whose fault it is? Why didn't you correct it? And if you knew that something wasn't correct and you didn't correct it, that's against the agency. Okay, now, and I'll let you go quickly, but what happens is, I'm saying, it's the words. We really have to understand that they're the tools. Everything that you do, like Mr. Fuller says, Johnny Carpenter, it was words. It wasn't him. It was the words
how
that
you
he
used them.
And how you used
them. See, for one thing, for those of you that work for some kind of agency or something, never make a charge against the agency. That's a trick. Because now you're on your lonesome. You always say that somebody is subverting you in your duties to the agency. And now you want help in finding out who that somebody is. Now everybody has to marshal their forces, but make sure that what you're doing is correct. And usually, with the average black person, it is. Because they're doing something against you. But see, you always say, they have tricked us into going to it like we did in the 3rd grade. He said, I said. We go in just like little children, which is what they call us, boys and girls. Mm-hmm. See, so we go in saying, well, he insulted me, and then I said such a thing, and that's the way we write. When we write the report, and then she said this, and then I said this, then she called me a no-good bitch, and then, see, that's the way we handle it. That's just the way we write it, just like we did in the 4th grade. You don't do that. What you do is go in and say, now, I signed on to this agency to do my duties, and I always do what I'm told according to the support of the Constitution of the United States. That's what you tell them, if it's a United States issue. And all issues are, okay, from what you have been taught. So you're just playing back the record that they taught you in grade school. All right? Say, now, in the performance of my duties, and this is the way I've written it up, I have probable cause to believe, using police language, probable cause to believe that someone is subverting me. Now, the gentleman mentioned something about names. See, I don't know who the someone is, but I am asking for help from the people who have sworn to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States to assist me in finding out who this someone is. Because we got a mole in here. All right? In so many words. You don't have to use that expression, because that's a slang expression, but they know what it means in intelligence. You know, we got a person. I come in here every day. I'm working hard. I'm trying to perform my duties. I'm trying to get ahead, trying to make a little money. Now, someone is trying to undermine me. Might be a promotion coming up. Somebody's undermining you and getting that promotion. Now, that someone is undermining the Constitution, because by normal progression, you're supposed to be getting, by due process, Fifth Amendment. See, and that's where you throw that in. You say, according to the Constitution, someone is subverting the Constitution of the United States. Mr. Anderson, I want to announce to this assembly that someone here, I know not who, it could be a mistake, I hope that it is, someone is in the process of subverting, and take a copy of this with you, subverting this document, which we have all sworn to protect and defend, if necessarily, with our lives. Now, we have someone who is subverting this document. Well, who is it? I mean, you're making this, that's a pretty strong act, and that's what I was told once. Said, Mr. Fuller, you're making a pretty strong accusation here. I say, I stand by the accusation. Say, well, who is this person? Getting back to what you were saying. I don't know. But I thought that your office, and with the intelligence staff that you have here, including yourself, you all can find out. See, now you are on the offense. Now, you might say, suppose white people, like Fuller's up here that's playing games. No. Suppose white people that really work in your agency was sitting right in here, and I'm up here saying this. Talking about code. See, when you're on the correct track, by them attacking you, all they're going to do is derail themselves. After you have even told them what your strategy is. See, that's when you know that the code is pure. Isn't this correct, Mr. Reeves? You can tell them what you're going to do. Say, now, when I come in the office tomorrow, you can tap him on the shoulder while he's sitting there. When I come in the office tomorrow, this stuff that we talk about now, I'm going to use it. Right.
I just want to say...
word for word, just like we handed it out right in here. We are in assembly. You're not listening to Fuller. You're listening to logic. See, and that's one thing the white supremacists cannot stand coming from you. Right. You just be a little patient, keep your voice down, don't start calling people MFs, and just use logic and start walking through it, like Mr. Reeves said, step by step. And don't let them jump over nothing. Say, oh, wait a minute, you're all talking a little fast here. Let's go back to point number 2. I'm not through with that yet. Y'all have moved to point 4. And let's keep them at it. And they'll say, well, we don't have time. I was told that once. I said, well, I can come back. I'm on the clock. See, I can do this every day. Because I don't want to be down yonder doing all that work no way. Okay? So, I mean, just set up another appointment. I can be here at whatever time I can just bypass the place that I usually work, come right in here, and we can spend all day defending what? The Constitution. Now, I'm going to tell you why. You write something and mention the Constitution of the United States, particularly the 5th and 14th Amendments. That deals with due process, doing things the correct way, and equal protection of the laws. Now, once you do this on paper, that can go all the way to the Supreme Court. See? I mean, just, sooner, it might take forever to get there. Chances are it will. And then you got to deal with who's there. All right? But I'm saying you open that door. As long as you keep that stuff on some policy, regulation, they just about got you hands down. But when you say the Constitution is under threat, it might work.
Just as,
yes, sir.
And real quick to sum up, just as Mr. Fuller had advised me prior to the situation,
but go ahead.
Prior to the situation, after it went all the way through, and they had decided that they had to blame it on a third white person if we go to the Inspector General.
Which was probably another constitutional violation.
But
if they actually deliberately did this.
Exactly, but the key was that I'd already charged everyone in the room with subversion. See, that was the key, because it was already shown through the evidence and proven on the computer records that someone...
Or the logic and the evidence led to them.
Exactly.
Through their own investigation.
Through their own investigation.
All right, which is the way it's supposed to work when it works beautifully.
Exactly. And then when the supervisor said that, well, what we have here is I don't think we need to go to Inspector General. He said exactly what Mr. Fuller said he was going to say. He said some mistakes were made. He said some mistakes were made, and I think we have a big communication problem. He said, so what I think everyone needs to do is rally as a team and go back out and let's attack the problems, okay? So I said, okay, and we all walked out. Now here's the part for the second conversation he told you about when you're talking with a white person, how they can help you. I walked out. Everyone left. Everybody shook hands. The guy got ready to call me a nigga, shook hands, because he's happy they're going to blame it on the third white guy now instead of him, because it was him. Walked back in, and he said, I said, Ted, I said, that was all fine and good. I said, but I can't accept anything that you said in your ruling. And he said, well, why is that? Is it just a communication problem? Everybody's going to get back on the team. I said, no, Ted. I said, when we walked in here, I was stripped. I was fired. It was over for me. I said, now that it appears that it's someone else, it's a communication problem. You see, I said, now, I don't know, but this seems to be, I suspect this could be racism, okay? I says, I'm not saying that it is, but look how I'm left to think about it, and things like this have happened before. He says, oh, is that what you think it is? I said, I think it could be. And he says, well, what do you think we should do about it? I said, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
I said, from here on out, what I need from you is for you to tell me any information that you think I need to do my job correctly, because I'm often mistaken. And you just found that we have a communication problem here. I said, I've been finding that there's a communication problem. I said, so I need you to tell me whenever I'm doing anything incorrect, and I also need you to tell me anything that I need to do my job better, so that I can get all my promotions on time and everything. I said, and then what I'll do, I said, that's your part, and then what I'll do is I'll make sure that you do that. I says, I'll make sure that you do that, and I'll do whatever you ask me to do that's legal. Okay? And he sat there, and he says, well, we can't operate that way. You need to have more autonomy. I said, no, remember, Ted, we have communication problems. I was just fired a couple minutes ago. I said, you know, we need the help. And so we went through it. And it's been really interesting because, of course, neither of these people, they rarely, if ever, talk to me. All they do is send me emails about training courses, send me emails about, reliability courses and things to do. And whenever I go to them, they know that it's going to be about the job and nothing else. And what I'm saying is it went from terroristic through trashy, and it's back to tacky. Because that's how it is. It's just real tacky.
It better than tacky.
You know.
Now, I want to mention something, just for a moment. He mentioned somebody admitted to a mistake. See, when these things start, under codification, you grab everything that will help you, even when everything is going your way, because something's coming down the pike in the future.